Yeats, W.B. Yeats, his own voice, just so you can hear it at least. And we can talk about it. There's certain things to talk about later. Mr. Donahue here visiting us is a folk singer, and it's not inappropriate that we should have Yeats deck for that moment, because Yeats, has a whole lot of writing on speaking, poetry, the zither, what the instruments use, kind of hard. Sort of the reading of poetry. But anyway, we'll listen to Yeats for a moment, or for a few minutes. And I was going to play you that Eliot, Sweeney Agonistic.
I'm going to read my poems with great emphasis upon their rhythm, and that may seem strange if you are not used to it. I remember the great English poet, William Morris, coming in a rage out of some lecture hall where somebody had recited a passage out of his Seagull of Ulster. It gave me a devil of a lot of trouble, said Morris, to get that thing into verse. It gave me the devil of a lot of trouble to get into verse the poems that I am going to read. And that is why I will not read them as if they were prose. I am going to begin with a poem of mine called The Lake Isle of Inisfree. Because if you know anything about me, you will expect me to begin with it. It is the only poem of mine which is very widely known. When I was a young lad in the town of Sligo, I read Thorol's essays and wanted to live in a hut on an island in Lough Gill called Inisfree, which means Heather Island. I wrote the poem in London when I was about 23. One day in the Strand, I heard a little tinkle of water and saw on a shop window a little jet of water balancing a ball on the top. It was an advertisement, I think, of cooling drinks, but it set me thinking of Sligo and lake water. I think there is only one obscurity of the poem. I speak of noon as a purple glow. I must have meant by that the reflection of heather in the water. I will arise and go now, and go to Inisfree, and a small cabin build there of clay and wattles made. 19 rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the pales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always, night and day, I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. A couple of miles from Inisfree, no, 4 or 5 miles from Inisfree, there is a great rock called Dooney Rock, where I had often picnicked when a child. And when in my 24th year I made up a poem about a merry fiddler, I called him the Fiddler of Dooney in commemoration of that rock and of all those picnics. The places mentioned in the poem are all places near Sligo. When I play on my fiddle in Dooney, folk dance like a wave of the sea. My brother is priest in Kilbarnet, my cousin in Muckraby. I passed my brother and cousin. They read in their books prayer. I read in my book of songs I bought of the Sligo fair. When we come at the end of time, the Peter sitting in state, he will smile on the three old spirits that call me first through the gate. For the good are always the merry, saved by an evil chance, and the merry love the fiddle, and the merry love to dance. And when the folk bears by me, they will all come up to me with ears of Fiddler of Dooney, and dance like a wave of the sea. I rise in the dawn, and I kneel and blow till the seat of the fire flicker and glow. And then I must scrub and bake and sweep till stars are beginning to blink and peep. But the young lie long and dream in their bed of the matching of ribbons for bosom and head. Their day goes over in idleness. They sigh if the wind but lift up a tress, while I must work because I am old, and the seed of the fire gets feeble and cold. I will arise and go now and go to Inisfree and a small cap.
The landscapers can take heed. The industry is a landscaper, controlling the emotion. So you've heard him say that industry means heather island. And he also mentioned that it created that purple glow in the water at noon. Where noon, the purple glow, the heather reflected in the water. He also mentioned that this poem has been inspired by an advertisement for soft drinks in London. Did you hear him say that? That he heard this little tinkle and he turned and he saw this little ball bouncing on a jet of water. And he was standing on the pavements grey of London and thinking of Inisfree. And he was inspired at that moment to write this nostalgic landscape poem. Had you noticed that there's a contrast between his mood in London on the pavement square and the nostalgic trip over to Ireland? His stress on at the opening on rhythm, reading rhythmically, is interesting, and it ties right in with our visitor here, our folk singer, Mr. Dooney. But I was thinking as he read rhythmically, when you read rhythmically, you read anonymously. The moment you start a rhythm, a beat going, the private voice disappears. It's like the Fiddler of Dooney. A fiddler is not an individual, private person. He's a function of a whole group. And the group is what Yeats is celebrating. The group being the folk, which is non-literate, pre-literate. And Yeats was very much taken up with the oral tradition in all his work. Very conscious of it, working very hard to attain the quality of the oral tradition. It's a theme that he was involved with Lady Gregory. Remember, he and Lady Gregory went around gathering folk legends and folklore and cuts of the peasantry and so on. And this is all oral tradition. There's a quality in jazz and rock, or in popular music, which shares this oral tradition. You cannot, jazz is, as such is anonymous. It's a folk music. there's no meaning in attaching it to a present person. And so the oral tradition bridges across from modern poetry to these older traditions. That's why I asked Mr. Thompson to bring in get a copy of the Singer of Tales. I have it right there. Same things. Singer of Tales is anybody read it? Nobody read it? Singer of Tales is an account of the oral epic of Yugoslavia. Still in production, and as with jazz, performance is composition. The group of people who make these epics, like a group of jazz musicians, simply hit a theme and begin to vary it and play, and to invent as they go. Jazz is a composition that is born of performance, and it is not. They don't even know what they're going to play until they hear it. Performance is composition. That's any difficult because until they perform, there's nothing. There's no score. There's nothing written. You know, what is one of the? Can you imagine what is one of the indispensable factors if you're going to have a group of people making music while they perform? What are the basic presuppositions of such activity? What have you got to have in such a group before you can have any music as performance or as composition? What is indispensable?
Some understanding.
Understanding of what? If you sit down to do variations on jazz theme, just with a group of people in a room, what is presumed or presupposed? Surely everybody has to know an awful lot of jazz. Everybody has to know a huge storehouse of themes. That is indispensable to performance as composition. And a group of jazz musicians, or everyone in this room, could, up to a point, improvise on jazz themes by bringing in many other themes related to it. In other words, there has to be a great common stock of knowledge and cliché and formulas. Now that's what happens in Yugoslavia. Everybody has a great stock of old poetic clichés and formulas for every kind of situation. If the hero is speaking, or the villain is speaking, or whoever is speaking, there's a whole batch of cliches for each one of those people. A whole bunch of formulas that are drawn upon and standard in order to have the poem. Now this is true of Homer. The word of Homer was made this way. He belonged to the bardic tradition of oral composition. They had no writing. So today we're going back. There's a huge drive back to beginnings and to origins. In not only roots, that's done, but in the arts. Going back to all sorts of primal modes of the arts. In music, and in painting, in poetry, and dance. This seeking back for the most primal possible form is part of this traditional drive. It is worldwide, it's not just local, it's everywhere in the world, and it is thanks to the, as Mr. Dooney was aware, thanks to electronics. The electronic gives you access to the most remote pasts and the most ancient rhythms. This is a part basis of modern linguistics as a subject. It's based on the study of la langue, L-A-N-G-U-E, as compared with la parole. La parole is just talk. La langue is the hidden rhythms underneath the talk. That's what Yeats is talking about there. I said that my main attention is given to the rhythms. I think it wouldn't be a bad time to play the Eliot swinging Inisfree, which was deliberately based on jazz rhythms.
Okay.
The
You get first tuning?